Tater. Good morning to everyone out there. You see me wearing my Yankee gear because I'm feeling pretty good about where we are right now. Crazy thing is, lately, I've watched more baseball in the last week than I've watched in the last 15 years. All of a sudden, I'm turned on to baseball again. And maybe that has something to do with the New York Mets and the New York Yankees both competing in the league championship series. I don't know why, but my son said, "Wow, Dad, you are watching a lot of baseball these days." I'm loving baseball again. Good morning to all my buddies out there, Kelvin Wims, Sean Brunson. Good morning. How you guys doing? Terrence Scott. As the calendar turns to basketball, and it's turning pretty quick, I'm excited, and I hope you are. It seems like the basketball season always takes a long time to come around, but it seems like this year it's come around a lot quicker. And we're not going to delve too deeply into what's going to happen this basketball season. I'm just glad it's basketball season. James Breland, what's up? Big win last night for you guys. Mr. David Crawford, how you doing, buddy? Miss Barbara Felton, good morning. But I did want to take a quick look into Marion and Mullins coming basketball season a little bit. Just a little touch, just a touch means so much. First of all, we're going to look at their, let's see, take a look at their coaching staff, first of all. And they've got, tell you, boy, these local guys are really building their coaching staffs these days. No more one guy on the bench. This guy's got a team now. Mullins and Marion. I love it. But the coaching staff for Marion, led by head basketball coach Daryl Kelly. They tell me Daryl Kelly is still overseas, but he'll be here in November as the season gets underway. Carlisle White is assistant coach. Jordan Bell, of course, that's Spanky Bell's son, is an assistant coach. Marcus McGirt, assistant coach. Randy Dennison, that's Yamasi Bowie, and Travante James. So that's the coaching staff for the Swamp Foxes this year. And there's a lot of high hopes. Now, their schedule, let's see. They're going to start their season a little bit on the early side. And that's going to start, let's see. That's going to be the 27th of November. And they will be playing at some tournament down there in Orangeburg. I think that's the first time they'll play. But either way, I know that they're going to be playing down there. Tanya McGill, good morning. How are you? Matt Baker. Matt, I'm loving baseball again, Matt. I don't know if that was a little conversation you and I had a couple of weeks ago or just being around you, Mr. Head Baseball Coach. But I'm really turned on with baseball again. It's a great game. And October baseball is the best stuff. Anyway, I digress. So officially, there's going to be a tournament on the 27th. Then they're going to play also on the 29th. The regular season starts on the 3rd with, let's see, they're going to host Myrtle Beach, looks like. Then they are going to host St. James. And then they're going to travel to Florence to take on the Wilson Tigers. And then the conference starts, let's see, they got it's Oceanside Collegiate, a team. And I really like the way, DJ is kind of scheduling his thing because you got to play really good. It's kind of like a Mark Gerald thing. He wants to play really good teams, not caring really if he loses or not, but to get the experience. Because everyone knows that after your conference schedule, what you care about is when they choose the brackets, and you don't want to be a team that's been playing patsies the whole time, and then all of a sudden now the first team you face in the playoff, you can't hang because you hadn't seen that kind of talent. But DJ seems to be taking a different approach, and I'm thinking that's going to work out for them. It can't hurt playing against tough teams. I'm seeing games here against schools like Cane Bay, which is not a conference game, and that game happens. That's in January. So that's a little taste of what you're going to get from Marion this year. Take a look at our friends over in Mullins. Take a look at their coaching staff. And I got one of them on the line right now, Sean Brunson, who was also the JV coach. Did a great job last year with the JV too. And I'm sure you'll continue to do that. Knows players, know how to develop them. Eric Troy is the head basketball coach at Mullins High School. Jim Donovan Reeves is an assistant. Sean Brunson is an assistant. And Matt Bassetti is a statistician. Mullins' schedule starts, let's see, real quick here. I'm pumped for basketball too, by the way. I'm going to tell you something, guys. I mean, I'm going to see games this year. Like lots and lots of games. As many as I can see. Every game now I'm going to be somewhere. Hopefully. If the old body holds up. Anyway, Mullins kicks off against Conway. And that's a home game. What am I hearing in the back? Oh, I'm sorry. My goodness. You off, buddy. They kick off, as I said, against Conway. And that's on the 30th. Let's see. Yeah. And then they play at Hemingway. That tradition that Mark Gerald started many, many years ago. Good morning, Mr. Travis Kennedy. Are you related to the Kennedys of... No. Hemingway is a back-to-back deal. They play at Hemingway on the 5th, and then they are back home to Mullins on the 6th. On the 11th, they travel to St. James. And then, on the 17th of December, they got married. Is this real? Are we? Is Mullins and Meredith playing in December? Wow. Okay. Well, anyway, the 17th of December, before Christmas, you got Mullins at Marion. And then Mullins travels to Manning. They host East Clarendon. They wrap up Marion on the 24th of January. This normally doesn't happen until the very end of January, the first game, and then the return match. Anyway, I'm cool with it. After Marion on the 24th, and that will be in Mullins, they will host Manning, travel to East Clarendon, and then wrap the season with a home game against Kingstree. Let's see. So that's it for basketball right now. Let's take a look at some football scores. This football is... Who's going to be playing the day after Thanksgiving? That's the question. Is anybody from around here going to be playing the day after Thanksgiving, which usually means lower state, upper state, championship type games? Marion has had some memorable ones over the years. They are kind of not in the conversation this year, though, after losing so many players to college. But Swamp Foxes is they got a lot of work to do. They've won one game this year, and it was a close game against Latta. Latta has been winning. They've been doing pretty well this year, winning close games, playing hard. Hats off to the Latta Vikings. But right now, my scores won't come up. Let's see. Mullins football has done well this year. And they made a tremendous turnaround from last season and previous seasons. And I'm pretty sure they won last night. They were up 18-6. Anybody want to confirm whether or not that score held up? Because my score stream ain't happening. Okay. So, the conference as it stands right now, that's Region 7-2A. Manning is leading the conference. East Clarendon, unless they won last night, they would have dropped down because Mullins was leading them. But at this time, they were in second place. Kingstree was in third, followed by Lake City and Mullins. All of those look like they were tied in their respective positions in the conference. Then you have Atlantic Collegiate and Marion. The whole thing is for folks to get into the playoffs and get a decent seed. Now I looked at the possible seeding 24. Oh, thank you, Sean. Mullins won 24-18 over East Clarendon last night. That's a huge win for Mullins. They had a couple of weeks there where they stubbed their toe after the amazing undefeated start, but they seem to have gotten it together last night. They're going to be off next week, I believe, right, Sean? And then they finish the season off, I want to say, in Kingstree. But either way, that's a big win, big conference win for Mullins, ups their record to 3-2 in the conference, and that really catapults them up the rankings a little bit there. 3-2, that's basically second right now, because East Clarendon would be 2-2, whether or not Kingstree or Lake City won. But Mullins is in. They're in the conversation for a 1 or a 2 seed, at least a 2 seed, which usually translates into a home game in the playoff. So, auctioneers are really making things happen around here in terms of football. They are really the only story in Marion County right now. And they are doing well. Big win last night for the auctioneers. Let's see. Yes, indeed. But I'm trying to think where they might finish. Well, it looks like they're going to probably finish at least second or third. They only got one conference game left. So, we'll see. Let's take a look at the football rankings, because really, how much do football rankings really matter? Oh boy. How much does football rankings really matter in the grand scheme of things earlier in the season? And it don't look like I'm going to be able to pull that up for you today. Yeah, folks, I'm having a little internet situation here. But at any rate, unless this comes up, I'm basically toast. Let's see. Well, I think right now, since I can't get that, I want to talk a little bit about baseball again. And I can imagine the excitement level right now in my former hometown for the Yankees and the Mets both competing in the league championship series. Now, I was in New York when both the Mets and the Yankees had their time. 86, the Mets, Darryl Strawberry and Doc Gooden and those guys turned the team and the city on. The Mets went on to win that year in miraculous fashion, by the way, because the team they beat was Kelvin Wimm's team, the Boston Red Sox. Throw that out there, Kelvin. That year, the Mets looked like they were dead in the water in that game 6 against Boston. But then, as usually happens, as happens many times during October baseball, miraculous things happen. And Billy Buckner is a guy that most people are going to think about when they think about that year. He was a Gold Glove first baseman his whole career, outstanding hitter, outstanding player, all around good guy. But that ground ball that went through his leg cemented him in the minds of many as a guy who, see, back in the day, GOAT was not a good thing. It wasn't greatest of all time. GOAT mean you were bad. You messed up the game. And every day in the New York papers after a game, whoever was the GOAT, their picture would be there, and their picture would be attached to GOAT's horns, meaning you blew it. So the Mets went on to win that year. The series before that, they played like a 16-inning game against the Houston Astros. And they looked like they were in trouble then too. But they still won that and went on to win in 7 against the Boston Red Sox. Now the Yankees and me have a lot more great memories because there was that era there from starting from 1975 when Chris Chambliss hit the home run and they lost. They got swept by the Cincinnati Reds, the Big Red Machine, in 75. Was 76, 1976. Now the next year they went out and got Reggie Jackson. You know, they went out and beefed up their team with all kind of, great available players. And they won. They won multiple championships during that run. Then they went, into like a little swoon of sorts there. But the whole thing and the whole talk of Subway Series goes way back to beyond those times, to before those times. There was a time when New York City had 3 Major League Baseball teams. They had the Brooklyn Dodgers, who later became the Los Angeles Dodgers. They had the New York Giants, who played in Manhattan, and they left to become the San Francisco Giants. And they had the New York Yankees. And whenever any of these teams played against each other, it was known as a Subway Series because a lot of people took subways to go to these games. The Yankees dominated this era, obviously, but so after the Dodgers left, several years later, the Mets were created. The official name is the New York Metropolitans, but short for the Mets. No team replaced the Giants in New York. So now it was just the Yankees and the Mets. And the Mets were terrible for years and years and years. Until 1969, when they became the Miracle Mets. On a team of just journeyman players and a few young pitchers, turned the Mets franchise around. Okay. There was a time after the Mickey Mantle, Roger Maris days that, the Yankees were terrible. And it wasn't until the mid-70s when they rose again. Now, I can imagine being in New York right now with 2 teams being in the playoff with a possibility of going to the World Series. New York fans are passionate sports fans. And even though they don't really talk to you a lot in general, when you have a big sporting event going on in New York, then people will talk to you. Everybody will be wanting to talk about the Mets or the Yankees or whichever team is in it. I remember when the Knicks won in 1969-70. I wasn't in New York at the time, but I could feel the excitement as I can feel the excitement right now. And I'm not even there. But New York is basically a Yankee town. Yankee fans and Met fans have coexisted. Yankee fans and Met fans have sometimes rooted for each other. Even though I think it's a lot less likely for Yankee fans to root for Mets fans as the other way around. Yankee fans can be, a little bit they'd be high up on their horse. I think I said that right. But I have cousins that I communicate with on Facebook. My cousin Robert Jenkins he's a big Yankee guy, but he's not hating on the Mets. My brother-in-law, Albert James, whose mother was a huge Mets fan, by the way. And that's why now, with him living out in California and him taking on liking the San Diego Padres and the Los Angeles Dodgers, his mom would be turning over in her grave right now. And then before that, he was up in Boston, and he became a Boston Red Sox fan, which was really sickening. I can deal with the Dodgers. I can deal with the Padres. But the Red Sox? How you going to come from Queens and be rooting for the Red Sox? Anyway, he's not listening this morning. I'm kind of glad he is. Glad he's not. But it's an exciting time right now. Really, when you look at it, all the sports are going on at the same time. You got WNBA, you got NBA getting ready to start next week, you got NFL. And by the way, I meant to ask this question. How are you guys' football teams doing? Sean Brunson, you don't have to answer that question. I already know how you feel about the Commanders. But how's Cowboy fans feeling this morning? Because things have not gone well for them. Right now, I root for two teams. And you say, oh boy, what kind of fan are you? I'm a happy fan. Because I'm not sitting around rooting for some perennial losers like the Jets, who I used to root for. But how are your teams doing? I mean, Derek Weeks, how you feeling about the Steelers right now? Albert Lewis, you've been quiet about the Cowboys lately. You haven't had a lot of those "we are them boys" moments this year. How you feeling today is the question. Well, like I said, I'm feeling decent about the Eagles, who I have kind of adopted. I feel pretty good about the Ravens. I think they started the first two games. They lost both of them. But right now, they look like they're as good a football team as there is in the NFL. And my favorite player in all of football, Lamar Jackson, a.k.a. Lamb Jack, is doing very well. Finally, they put some talent around this guy. Finally, they put players around him to complement what he does. I mean, they get a quarterback. If you don't put the kind of players around him that gels with him, that fits with his skill set, then chances are they're not going to win. Derrick Henry was a big pickup for them. Those other receivers, Lively and these other guys they have out there around him, have been a big boost to Lamar Jackson's season. The guy just won MVP last year. His second MVP. And certain people are still acting like this boy is trash. They still can't see that this guy is like one of a kind. And now the Redskins or the Commanders, Jaden Daniels, he says that he basically idolizes Lamar Jackson. And he plays like him. The whole thing with African-American quarterbacks in the NFL, which has been a very sad saga over the years. I've watched it up close, impersonal. I've lived it. And it's been sad because there was no reasons really given as to why you don't let these guys play quarterback. Except for the unspoken truth, which may be they didn't want these guys in a position of leadership, ultimate leadership. But now I'm afraid, or I'm glad, that those floodgates have opened. About half the quarterbacks that are starting in the NFL right now are of color. I've been expecting this and having conversation about this for years with friends. So I'm just glad now that for whatever reason, the league has decided that they're going to let these kids do what they do. And I believe that it will be beneficial, and it's going to be better for everyone, all the fans, to watch the game change from what it was. And it's changed many times over the years. There was a time when quarterbacks never threw the ball, back in the 50s or whatever. They very rarely threw the football. But now, you got these guys with all these exceptional skills, the running, the passing on the run. That's the ticket these days. And it doesn't matter if a guy is white or black. He comes around to play quarterback, he's going to have to be able to do those things. Because the game is evolving. Finally. So I'm excited. College football is exciting too. I've been watching some games, watching a lot of games on Saturdays. And it's just great to see a lot of the youngsters from around here, or some of the youngsters from around here, playing on national TV. Squirt, TJ. And every Sunday, you got Xavier Legette to watch on TV. By the way, Xavier's doing great. Had a crazy catch last week, which I put as a cover on my sports group. But he's letting loose. And then a little bit, you talk about Zion Williamson in basketball, Ja Morant. All these guys are pretty close to this area. These guys are pros, man. Making pro money. TJ, chances are, will be there soon. I mean, maybe next year. I don't know. But right now, I know a lot of people are loving this kid. Scouts are loving him. And it's really fun watching him play. Well, folks, that's all the time I got. A little internet glitch there, notwithstanding. But I'll be back next week with more. So you have a wonderful, safe week and day. Peace.